Hi everyone, here is our brief discussion for Chapter 1 made case study and the Chapter 2 case study for discussion posts today. Brief overview of mini case study 1, you're the newly promoted VP of Marketing, you're trying to champion a new cloud-based Salesforce automation tool, Velcro SFA, due to the outdated Excel program spreadsheet that this company is already using, trying to bring it up to the digital age. That backfires pretty significantly, ends up basically bringing down the HR network, costing the company capital and trying to get this going, and now having to answer to the CEO. So let's kind of look at what went wrong throughout this rollout. Initially, we had no end user buy-in. We spoke with a few sales reps who did not seem interested. Instead, we just went to the top and got approval from the board with projections from the vendor, which may or may not are even be applicable or attainable. And we went through the rollout anyway, right? Without even thinking about, is it going to be adapted? Do those end users feel it's beneficial? And this is something that we speak to pretty significantly in the textbook, right? Without that end user buy-in, without its usefulness being shown, we're not going to see success in that project. We lack the technical understanding. We tried to push through this rollout even without understanding some of the errors that were coming through. Jenny, our IT support, probably didn't work enough with the vendor in their rollout team to make sure that this is successful. And in the end, we pushed it just to try to get it out there, try to get into the digital age, as I said in there, and bringing down that network by being much too rushed. What could we have done? So first, we could have conducted a needs assessment to see if we even need to change the sales software. If our salespeople are successful, if they're happy, if they're comfortable in what they're doing and we're seeing growth, maybe this isn't even something that needs to happen to begin with. If it is, we could trial just a pilot, a small group, see if it's helpful, use that word of mouth and that data then to prove to the rest of the sales team who push against it a bit to show its usefulness, to show its efficacy in their role. We need to develop a realistic timeline with full buy-in from all the execs, not just the board, to ensure that we have that proper hierarchical structure to show success and to have it be able to guide that rollout and to help build that buy-in from the staff more successfully. There's an article about this that we spoke in the lecture about that lack of hierarchical structure being one of the main reasons that we see IT project failure. And then getting that better support from the vendor, working with Jenny to make sure that we can roll this out effectively and efficiently, and making sure we can kind of troubleshoot those errors before a big problem occurs like it did. We look at the case study 2. We're following Blake, who's a grad student, landed an awesome role as a summer intern for a high-end hotel. They wanted to try to improve their ability to respond to maintenance issues ahead of time before staff or before customers could see it, so that staff are able to handle these and help ensure that aesthetic of this perfect high-end hotel. We ended up having to hand off our plan a little bit early to Jack, who we didn't have a great relationship with, and basically the project kind of fell apart, didn't have consistent rollout. Now the GM of the hotel is reaching out to our consulting company for Blake to come back and fix it. What went wrong? Poor change management. Once again, Blake did not have that proper buy-in from the end users, right? The maintenance staff, the house cleaners, they initially enjoyed it, and it did seem like it would be something they would push. But then as Blake had to leave and Jack took over, there was no consistent push to engage the staff, engage the training, to keep it going. And eventually it got to a point where this hotel had paid for this service, this cappuccino app, but nobody used it, and they went back to their old manual ways. We had limited oversight in the rollout. Blake probably handed off much too softly to Jack, Um, Jack didn't have buy-in on this project, so how could the staff or the team of the hotel then have buy-in? And then just lack of training during that rollout. Right? Cultural resistance to this new project limited it quite a bit. How can we fix it? I think about this like these tech implementations are just as much about people, the systems. Case study one and case study two both have this. If those end users aren't fully invested and see the benefit to them, they're not going to align with that new program. They're going to continue doing what they have been, right? It's their habit. Um, again, we need that better hierarchical structure. The GM might know, but the IT director, the maintenance directors, if everybody's not involved in this process to push to these end users, it's going to just fall apart. We could utilize internal reporting in the Cappuccino system or through that vendor to see if it's even being used, right? We would be able to gather this data before it fails or before we get to that final 2 weeks before school in order to fix these things. Um, and just continued training, right? Making sure that we're staying on top of all of these staff members to ensure they're comfortable with what they have to do. And I guess one question would be, would improved communication from upper leadership, creating a more hierarchical structure, have helped get more buy-in from end users? Might be a good question to ask as we go through discussion posts this week. And finally, here are the references used for this week, including the disclosure about generative AI. Thank you for the time. I hope everybody has a great week.